Well, I got another video review for you today. So I'm down here at my mom's house, and she's got some hedges out here that needs to be trimmed, and so I had got this hedge trimmer from PROYAMA. This here is the PHT 230. Let's go ahead and get it unboxed. So you've got a little mixing jug here for oil and gas, and so you got your owner's manual, you got your tools, your little scrunch tool, a wrench, and an Allen key, and then you've got the unit if you want to see how it's packed in here. Not going to waste a whole lot of time. I'm just going to rip the end out of that, just kind of slide it out. And my first thoughts is it's not super freaking heavy like a lot of them. Looks pretty nice. If I had to go by looks, yeah, looks like it's made pretty well. So I'm pretty happy with that. And then you got this little latch right here, this little trigger that kind of raises up, and it allows you to turn the handle. So that's a pretty cool feature. It allows you to turn it, 180 degrees. And then you got your on and off button right here, and it's got a little plastic cover over it so it don't get poked very easy and keeps dirt and trash them out of there. And then you got your little safety that you mash down with your hand. There's your trigger, and then right down there is your primer bulb, and then you got your choke right in here. You've got a guard, just slides off just like that. Like I said, it looks pretty well made. It doesn't seem flimsy, but don't really know until we try it out. And I'm gonna go get some gas for it, and we'll go ahead and get started putting it to work. And then when I'm done, then I'll come back and tell you a little bit about it more towards the end. Like I said, I'm down here at my mom's house. I didn't have a gas can, didn't have no oil, so I went to Home Depot and picked up some of this Red Armor Eco oil. That's what I've been using for years. I really like it. Now what you want to do, it says to go ahead, put it on full choke, which is pushed all the way forward. And then right here you can see that is the primer bulb right there at my thumb. It said to mash it 10 times. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so I got gas in it, probably about pump number 7. It started getting a little gas. Next, you want to make sure that the switch is in the on position. If you pull it down, that's off right here, but you push it forward and that's on. And then you've got a little button there that kind of holds the throttle. You can see it right there at my thumb. So you squeeze this, squeeze the trigger and hold it, and that holds it wide open. But anyways, I'm not gonna put mine on the throttle lock or any of that. I'm just gonna crank it and see how it does. Now, I went ahead and did spray some WD-40 on the blade here. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and get it started. As you can see, I've never started this before. It's completely cold, so here we go. You heard it pop off about probably 4 pulls. I'm gonna push it back. Let's see if it'll crank now. So now after I get it started, you can see it idles real good, and it seems to have good power. So it took a few minutes to get it cranked. Like I said, if you see fuel, you don't have to keep on priming it. I would probably do 8 prime pushes and then try it, because I think I flooded it. That's why it was a little hard to start. But let's try it again. Let's turn it off and see how it starts now. Put it back on. So yeah, once you get it cranked up for that first initial time and it's got fuel to the carburetor, then it should be good. Now for the fuel mixture, it says 50 to 1. That's what they recommend, and I always put 89 octane or higher, and I try to do ethanol free just because I don't want to have any problems with the fuel. And this is where this comes in real handy. Turn it and go this way. So I'm halfway through with trimming this first huge shrub here in the front of the house. And you know, I gotta say, I trim this thing about every year for my mom. I trimmed it last year with an electric hedge trimmer. Whenever I trimmed it, you know, I noticed that some of the bigger parts of the bush, the thicker parts, it wouldn't cut through with that electric hedge trimmer. And I'm not talking about just a crappy one. This was one of a better model. I think it was a Black & Decker, but it was one of their more expensive models that had the bigger motor on it, and it just wouldn't cut through. Well, with this, I've noticed it's a lot sharper, and you can see that, you know, pretty much whatever will fit in right in there, it'll pretty much cut. You know, it seems to have a lot more power. Now, an advantage that the electric has over this one is this one's a little bit more heavy. I'll go over all the specs and stuff later. You know, this one here has a lot more power, and it has a longer reach. Plus, you're not tied to the cord. That's one other thing that I've always feared when running the electric hedge trimmers, is I was always scared that I might accidentally cut through the cord and do something stupid and shock myself. But anyways, I gotta say, I mean, you can look right here, like right in there. Look at that big old thick shoot that's come up off that bush. You can see that this thing cut right through it, where that other one, you know, it just wouldn't cut through it. And so I was able to trim it a little bit lower because this thing's more powerful and can cut a larger diameter. And we're gonna go ahead and crank it, see how it cranks while it's piping hot. Like I said, I just got to stopping for just a second. But now, one thing I noticed is right here, it helps with vibration, so it's not jarring you to death. So I do like that. It works really well. Again, I'm going to go ahead and do a hot start. This thing's got to be smoking hot from cutting this thing. Can you see I'm pouring sweat? And I'm sorry it looks so rough and sweaty. I've been taking some cancer medicine for my gout, and so it just makes me super hot. And I'm starting to get a little overheated. I'm probably going to call it after this one. I might do a little trimming on these other hedges, but I'm not gonna get them perfect today, just because I'm wore out, guys. But anyways, I'm gonna hit some of this monkey grass and get it shaped up. That way it's not hitting your ankles and stuff when you walk down the sidewalk. This just helps kind of clean it up a little bit. Alright guys, so you can see how thick the stems are on this bamboo. It's a type of bamboo plant. I know it don't look like a typical bamboo, but it's in the bamboo variety. But watch this when I cut these, and you see how thick they are. They're as big around as my little finger. But you see it made short work of that. Look at that. It just cuts them right down, no problem. And it's light enough I can hold it in this hand, and it starts up really easy. And so it's got good power. I just wanted to show you. And you can see it's all metal. You know, it's a nice gearbox, and you got a grease fitting right there. So that's what I'm gonna do when I get home, is grease it. Anyways, here we go. like I showed you, I went down to my mom's and trimmed her hedges and stuff, and I did a lot of hedge trimming around the side of her house. She's got rose bushes. There was a couple trees coming up there in the flower beds, and you know, I cut them down with this. And then out there at the road, she had a couple of dogwood trees. I've been trying to get her to cut down, but she won't let me cut them. And they had a lot of shoots coming out at the base and all the way up the trunk, and they just looked ugly. So I was sitting there cutting the little shoots off with this, and I gotta say, this thing tackled everything that I threw at it, and I really did put it to use cutting those hedges in front of her house. And I'm telling you, there were some really big, you know, stalks on some of those hedges. You know, this thing's able to cut up to 1 inch. Yeah, I cut up some stuff that had, you know, that it was probably right at 1 inch, and it didn't have no problems. This thing's got plenty of power, and like I said, it's a 2-cycle engine. It's 22.5 cc's. I was very impressed with it. They've done a good job at making this. The blades were really sharp, and you know, it comes with this little sheath to protect the blade, so if you do throw it in the bed of a truck or something, you don't want these teeth getting, you know, damaged. When I first tried to start it, I flooded it because it said to prime it 10 times. I would not prime it 10 times. I think that's a little much. So when you see fuel come up in the primer bulb, you know, that's when I would go ahead and just crank it. Set it to choke, and I went ahead and went back and wrote with a marker. That way, in case my girlfriend tries to use this thing, she'll know how to start it. Because sometimes these little choke symbols are a little hard to understand sometimes if you're not familiar with it every day. And so forward is choke, and then once you pull the string here and get it running, then you can move it back to the run position. And so I just made it easy, and choke and no choke. So I ran this thing, I stopped and started it many times over, probably about 3 hours. It took us to do all the hedges and trim all the trees and all this kind of stuff, and we had to stop a lot because, you know, like I said, I'm on some cancer medicine for my gout, and it just completely wipes me out. So I was wore out when I got home last night, and it was like an hour-and-a-half drive from her house to mine, so I was completely worn out. And so anyways, I gotta say, the thing had plenty of power. It ran good, didn't have it cutting out or dying or spitting and sputtering or any of that. As far as fuel efficiency, I filled this thing all the way up to the top yesterday, and now you can see I've got maybe a ½ inch of fuel left in the tank, and then I had to go buy some oil at Home Depot, and this is what I run in all my stuff. It's the Echo Red Armor stuff. I've been using this stuff for years. I like it because it don't smoke real heavy. Now, I've tried the steel oil, and I don't care for it because it smokes. I don't like breathing in all this. This stuff's usually pretty clean, and it works good in all my small engine stuff. So that's what I use. It's a little bit pricey. It's around 20 bucks. If you're interested, I'll put it in the link in the description. It is a 50-to-1 mixture. It does tell you right here on the very top of the unit right there, the gas tank. It's not flimsy. I figured, you know, maybe, you know, some of the cheaper hedge trimmers and stuff, that the gas tank would be very flimsy. It is not. This thing is very, very solid. You can't even flex it by pushing it in with your fingers, and it's mounted really well right there to the engine. Now, as far as like the vibration part of this, you can see that there's some flex right in there, and I love that. It didn't vibrate me to death like some of the trimmers do. I mean, you can see that it's built in, and the vibration control is built in, so that was really nice. Now, as far as the spark plug, I've not pulled it out yet. I don't know what kind of spark plug's in there. I'm a stickler for putting a better spark plug in there, because a lot of times they'll put cheaper spark plugs in some of these small engines. Now, one thing that PROYAMA does is they give you a little toolkit in a bag. It comes with an Allen key, it comes with a wrench, and it's got 2 different sizes on there. And then you've got your screech right here for your spark plug, and then it's got a Phillips head right here. So the Allen key fits all these different screws right here or bolts here on the top, and some on the bottom. Your wrench, you know, like I said, it's got 2 different sizes, so if you need to make adjustments here and all the way down, you can adjust this down through here. Right here in the very front is your spark plug boot. Go ahead and pop this off. You can see right there, there's your spark plug. Here we go. Took a little pop and loosen the spark plug up. And I like doing this. Like I said, I like putting a better spark plug in these. And you know, I'm gonna run this one until I have any problems out of it, but I like having another one on hand. And this is what I expected. You know, they use a torch plug. I've not had any problems out of mine so far. I've got them in some of the PROYAMA weed eaters and stuff, but like I said, you know, I like running a Champion, and this torch one here is called a Torch CMR 6A. And so if you're interested, I'll put a link down below to like a Champion spark plug or a NGK spark plug. That's the two that I like running. In the description, I'll tell you what the spark plug gap needs to be, so you don't have to hunt for it in the manual. That's the little plug. Doesn't cost but a few bucks. You can buy replacement parts for these. This is just not something that you buy for $169, and if it breaks, then you throw it away. You can get a carburetor kit for it. You can get the plastics for it. You know, there's quite a bit of parts that you can get. The blades, you can buy replacement blades for these, and then also, you know, when it's time, you know, if they ever get dull, you can resharpen them. And so, as far as the air filter goes, you know, it's just a little foam filter just to keep out some of the dust. It's nothing fancy, but you know, it does work. You can buy a replacement filter, but it's got these little keepers that kind of hold it in place. And yeah, there's a little bit of oil, residual oil in there. I guess they oiled the filter to keep out some of the dust, you know. But literally, the thing ran really good. Didn't have any problems out of it. Now, as far as fuel, it requires a minimum of 87 octane fuel for it. Now, truthfully, I ran ethanol-free fuel. I think what I found was 90 octane, and I found that at a gas station close to me, and so I paid a little bit more. And truthfully, if I could pass along any kind of information in this video that might be helpful to you, is I would go ahead and run ethanol-free fuel if you don't want problems, because, you know, it just gums up your carburetor, messes up your fuel lines. Even though they might be rated for ethanol fuel, I would just go ahead and run the ethanol-free fuel and be done with it. Pay a little bit more, but I mean, it doesn't use very much fuel, so it's not going to cost you much money. As far as some of the information that I wrote down off the website, says it weighs 11.7 pounds, and it was right on par with some of the other companies. It was pretty lightweight. It says that the cutting blades, it said that they were 25 inches long. Well, when I measured it, it was 24 3/4 inches long. So they just went ahead and called it a 25 inch. As far as the cutting speed, it got it to 7,800 RPM. It's got a 1 horsepower engine, comes with a manual, and I'll be honest, there's not a whole lot in here. It tells you how to start it, and this, that, and other, but it's very basic. I didn't see any real misspellings or any of that. You know, it was pretty decent manual, because sometimes when you get manuals from some of these Chinese companies, they are not written very well, and this one was really good. So for $169, you can't beat it. I promise. It's got good power. I wouldn't tell you to buy it if it was a piece of junk. As far as like the plastic here on the top and sides, you know, it seems to be pretty strong. If it was flimsy, I would let you know. Some of the, you know, hedge trimmers and weed eaters and stuff from some of the companies online, they'll make the plastic so flimsy, you know, that they're just not very strong. This one here seems to be of good quality. So anyways, you know, I think it comes with a 1-year warranty. You know, I didn't read through the whole warranty and everything, but, you know, I'm sure, you know, it's not going to cover, you know, if you dropped it going down the road or something, or dropped it off a house or something stupid. But I'm sure that PROYAMA will stand behind it, you know, if it's their fault or whatever. But I gotta say that every time I've reached out to PROYAMA, you know, to ask them a question or something, they're very responsive. Don't believe me, go ahead and message them yourself. And, you know, it's customer service at PROYAMAtools.com. So if you got a question about it, go ahead and message them before you buy it. Just see if they're responsive to you guys. I know, like I said, they've been very responsive to me. I don't think you'll have any problems. So now, as far as starting the unit, I was able to start it. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off, but literally I was able just to put this up against me and pull it. Didn't have any problems. Didn't have to set it on the ground. Now, my girlfriend, she's not used to starting, you know, equipment like this. She just set it on the ground, and I told her to put her foot right here like you would crank a chainsaw, and she was able to get it cranked like that. She would have probably been able to start it, holding it like I just did, but she's not used to that kind of thing, having to pull it so fast. And it's got good compression, but it's not real hard to pull, so that's good. So if you're older, you ain't got a lot of strength, So that's with it turned off, so I didn't want you guys to think that it was turned on. It's not going to start with it turned off. But anyways, appreciate you guys watching, and until next time, please like and subscribe to my channel, and also check out this Red Armor oil. That's what I run, and if you're interested, it'll be in the link in the description. Also, I'll link a Champion in GK spark plug down there as well. If you guys are interested in the PROYAMA hedge trimmer, I'll link it, and you can click on my link and buy it. It does not cost you guys any more money to buy from my link than if you just searched it out on Amazon yourself. And I'm an Amazon affiliate. I don't sell nothing that I wouldn't buy myself. Anyways, I appreciate it. Till next time, guys. See ya.